Good morning. My name is Terry Blachek, and I am happy that you have joined me this morning on Tuesday with Terry. I'm talking to you live from Austin, Texas, where the sun is hot, the barbecue is sweet, and all the drinks are free over here. Please come and visit our town. We'd love to have you. What I'm trying to do is give you some tips, some tricks, some thoughts, a pocket full of ideas that you can take back and implement. Some practical, easy to understand pieces and parts for your business, for your life, for your team. But today, what I really want to talk is I want to share with you some thoughts and ideas about how do you build the dream team. You ever had a dream team? You ever had a team that was, you look back on that and you said, man, if I could only get those people back working with me now, man, it would be so great. Man, I think about that in my life and in my career. I've really worked and been associated with some great individuals, some great people. I've been working with folks that were mentors to me. I have had colleagues that are above and beyond. And you've heard this before, iron sharpens iron. But these colleagues of mine, man, helped me bring out the best in me. So I just wanted to touch base a little bit with you this morning on how to build that dream team. Well, if you're going to build a dream team, first thing you got to do is you got to have a dream, right? You got to have a dream. And so what I would say is, does the leader have a dream? Does the guy or the gal that's running the program, do they have a dream, a vision, an idea of what they want to accomplish? Have you sat down with a blank sheet of paper and written down on a piece of paper, what does the profile of a dream team look like? You know, a dream team, sometimes people say to themselves, and I had this conversation yesterday, they say, well, I got to have all high performers in my team. I've got to have all A players. And I just want you to know that on my team or on my dream team, there are places for A-level players, there are places for B-level players, and there are places for C-level players. And you say, Terry, how can a C-level player help you create a dream team? Well, unfortunately, we're all not at the A level. I wish we were, but I can remember moments in my life. I can remember instances in my life. I can remember longer periods of time in my life when I was not that level of player. I still had a lot of learning to do. I still had a lot of coaching from other people. I still need to be mentored. So the piece of that is when I was being mentored, when I was being coached, I was probably not at the highest level of performance. But for you and your team, let me ask you this. Is there a place for a B or a C player to fill a position and for you to coach and teach and train and grow them to be an A player? Because what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get my C's to C pluses and B minuses, my B's to B pluses and A minuses, and I'm trying to motivate and inspire my A's to be A's. All I'm suggesting is if we could all find A players, that would be fantastic. It's difficult to do that. So as the leader, get some B players, get some C players, and get your C's to be B's, your B's to be A's, and continue to motivate and inspire your A's to help you lead by example. Training becomes a very big piece of a dream team, making sure that the process is the right process. You know, we talk about, if you've read the book Good to Great, you know this, but when you're hiring and you're looking for that dream team, the first thing you got to do is you got to get people on the bus. And then the second thing you got to do is get them sitting in the right seat on the bus, right? So if you're short-staffed, you first of all need to fill the seats that are open in your organization. Get them filled. Once you get those organizations filled, you tell people what, how, and why, and you've got to train, and train. You train people until it's the end of the day, till it's the end of the week, and you go back and you train and you repeat it and you repeat it. Repetition is the mother of learning, right? And how do you teach people? You show them first. I do it. Then you do it together. We do it. And then you watch them demonstrate as they do it. I do it. We do it. They do it. I show them. I do it with them. And then I watch them demonstrate that back to me to make sure that they have the competency that I'm looking for. I want to talk about communication as a leader. If you're going to create a dream team, you've got to be a great communicator, and you've got to look at all the tools that you use to communicate with. What are those tools? It's everything from the spoken language. It's everything from verbal communication, written communication, text communication, and it's the frequency of that communication and the clarity of that communication. Now, as I've moved up in my role and the responsibilities have gotten bigger and bigger, and I'm a CEO of my the Austin Fitness Group and Orange Theory Fitness, is I don't like to get a lot of emails that have long paragraphs and big paragraphs. I really like bullet points. I don't need to know that much information. As a matter of fact, a short little story, a little boy goes to his dad and he said, "Dad, I had a question." And the father looks at his son and he said, "Why don't you go ask your mother?" And the little boy looked back at his dad and he said, "Dad, I just didn't want to know that much about it." And I'm telling you, you don't always have to know that much about it, but get bullet points, be brief, to the point, be specific, and make sure communication. 85% of a problem in an organization is due to communication or the lack thereof. Remember that. And the last piece of the leadership piece of building a dream team is, I personally believe this from my own life, and I've seen it happen, is people have to know you care. You've heard it a million times. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So how do you, it's cliche, but how do you really care about someone? Caring about someone is checking in on them. How you doing? I do that from time to time with my team. I'll just shoot a quick text and say, "I'm checking in on you. How are you holding up?" So I'm not talking about how many sales they've got, how much revenue they drove, how they're holding back on expenses. I'm not talking about task-oriented things to get the job done. What I'm suggesting is I'm checking on you as a person. I'm checking in on you as an individual. You got to care about your people. I can't tell you how many times people have come up to me in personal situations and I've helped them out. It could be financial. It could be giving them a ride someplace. It could be opening up a door for them. It could be getting them in contact with somebody that could help them personally, for whatever the situation is. All I'm suggesting is you got to take a sincere interest in them and their personal life, not just because they're your employee, but because you really care. Let's talk about some psychology of top performers when you're starting to profile and you're looking for these great performers. What's really important? The most important part of the process, and I say this, you've heard me say this about sales, what's the most important part of the sales process? It's you. But the most important part of the process is the performer. It's the employee. It's the team player, right? And what you want to find out is, do their goals match their potential? So a lot of people come in and they say, they can do this, they can do that, they can, generate X amount of sales, they can generate X amount of revenue, they can create this level of performance, they can generate this many leads, they can do marketing, they can do human resources, they can do administration. But what you really want to find out when you're talking to people is, what are their goals? What are their aspirations? And does that really match the potential? Never sell yourself short. Keep your expectations high. I can't tell you how important it is to have high level of goals, because that is what drives performance. Here's a short story for you. I was in charge. I was hired as a VP of sales for a company in Florida, health club company in Florida. And when I got there, all the salespeople, this is, 100, 150 salespeople, all the salespeople were complaining that they were required to get too many appointments during the day. And I believe the requirement was 8 appointments that they were required. They were required to make 80 outbound phone calls and set 80 appointments. And they said, listen, we're nobody's showing up, and we're not getting, we're only getting 3 or 4 appointments for the day. But these are quality appointments, right? They told me they were quality. And if we could just lower the expectation from 8 down to 5, they were sure that they could get 5 quality appointments, good leads, good appointments that could sign up for membership. And I listened, as I typically do, and I thought, well, let me see if this works. And so I lowered the expectation to 5 appointments, and we talked about quality appointments. And sure enough, I lowered that expectation, and I watched the results for 3 months, for 90 days. And you know what happened? The production became lower. So now, instead of, they were required for 8 appointments. I think they were getting 4s and 5s. Now the requirement was 5, and they were getting 2s and 3s appointments. And I said to myself, this is crazy. And so I went back, I took a look, and I said, you know what the problem is? The problem is I'm expecting too little or too low performance. And I've tell a story about expecting the best, right, out of yourself. I raised the expectations. I pull everybody together. I raised the expectation. I said, I'm resetting the expectations. From this point forward, I expect you to get 10 appointments. 10 appointments. Oh my goodness, that's crazy. That's twice as how can we, if I make 100 calls, my ear's going to fall off. Oh, I can't believe it. Yep. The expectation is 100 calls, 10 appointments. And you know what happened? When I raised the expectations, people began to move and live up to a higher potential. And so I didn't always get 10, but you know what I did get? I got 7s and 8s. And that's where I had started at. I had asked for 7 or 8, and they were only getting 4s and 5s. I lowered the expectation to 5. I'm getting 2s and 3s. Now I raise the expectation to 10, and now I'm getting 7 appointments a day, 8 appointments a day per person. Sometimes your expectations are simply too low, and people have the potential of greater and higher performance. Don't set your expectations too low. Make sure people have goals that match their potential. Are you willing to do whatever it takes? I think that's a question we should be asking people. And when we build a dream team, the question is, are you willing to do whatever it takes? And boy, I tell you, I've sat across the desk from many people that have said, yes, Terry, I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But yet when I ask them to show up for an event at 6:30 in the morning at the CAP 10K here in Austin, we struggled to get people to really do it. But I said, that's really what it takes, right? We're doing the morning stretch for the run. I need you to be there. I need you to be in your morph suit. I need you to be in orange. I need you to be, ready to go. Are you willing to do what? Yes, I'm willing to do. But yet the toilet's overflowing and you're not going back and plunging the toilet and fixing the problem. Are you really willing to do whatever it's, oh my goodness, you put me there. You hire me, man. I'm going to do it. Really? We got 5 light bulbs out in the place. Are you willing to do whatever it takes? What it takes is replace the light bulb. These are simple things, but many times people will say that they're willing to do whatever it takes. Many times they don't do that. And what happens is the higher up in an organization, the more times our pride gets in the way and we say, that's not my job. I'm a junior executive. I'm a manager, and you see, that's not my job. Well, I told somebody yesterday, and I told a group of people yesterday, I was in the field. For me, if you work in my company, the first way to lose your job is to tell me it's not your job. If you tell me it's not your job, it's everybody's job. It's everybody's job to create a great member experience for our customers. It's everybody's job to try to build this company. It's everybody's job to watch the back of a coworker and take care of our teammates. That's your job. Are you disciplined and consistently relentless or obsessed? I got to tell you, when I started Orange Theory Fitness, when I liquidated all of my assets, my entire 401k, and I put everything that I had into opening up a couple stores in Tampa, Florida, a couple studios in Tampa, Florida, I was absolutely unequivocally committed because I had nothing else and I had nothing left. And so when I say obsessed or relentless, and you hear the story about burning the boats, right? There's no way back. That's where I was 12 years ago. 12 years ago, I was in a situation where this was my kind of I don't want to say last hurrah, but it was certainly an investment of everything that I had, an investment of my time, my energy, all of my money to try to make something work, and come hell or high water, I was going to make it work. And I'm proud to say I made it work. I'm proud to say I was one of the early adopters in on Orange Theory Fitness. And I'm proud to say that a lot of my thumbprint of how we did the business and how we ran the business was wrapped around some of the things that we had done in our stores in Tampa. Shout out to Troy Taylor, who helped me do a lot of that stuff. I appreciate you and love you, brother. The next one is don't give in to fear. It's amazing to me how people get afraid of actually stepping out and doing something. I didn't think I could do that, or I didn't know I was supposed to do that, or I didn't want to get in trouble if I did that. And, you hear people talk about falling forward or failing forward. And the funny story is when you fail, And you look at when somebody else fails, you look at it and you say, come on, man, you're better than that. Pick yourself up, fall forward, make a mistake. It's okay, right? That's how we deal with that. But when you fail, how do you feel about that for yourself? You go, ooh, oh, man, that doesn't feel good, right? You take it personally. And so the same advice or counsel that you have for other people about failing or falling forward is the same thing you need to remember for yourself. Don't give in to fear. Don't let fear hold you back. And there's a phrase out there that says, time is fear's favorite food. What does that mean? When you fear something, you procrastinate and you don't do it, and that creates time. And that creates the next day, and the next day you don't do it. You put it off another day, you put it off another day. And that may be your workout program. That may be an investment. That may be starting a business. That may be having a conversation. It may be a situation in a relationship. You keep procrastinating and procrastinating, and you put it off and you put it off because really down deep inside, you're afraid of what you'll hear. You're afraid you might fail. The last piece on the psychology of top performers is really self-improvement. What are you doing to improve yourself? What have you done in the last 6 months? What have you done in the last year? Who are you listening to? What are you reading? Who are you talking to? Did you have a cup of coffee with a mentor? Have you really done the research? Have you looked it up and done the research to find out more about your craft? Are you trying to get better and better every day in every way? And the way that happens is through conversations, through reading, listening, education. You've got to spend time on yourself and self-improvement. Either you are moving towards a goal or you're moving away from a goal. Not making a decision is actually making a decision. Did you know that? When you don't make a decision or you procrastinate on a decision, you're actually moving away from your goal. So what you need to do is when you have your goals, you have your aspirations, you have your get done pieces, you've got to focus on actionable items. Don't put a to-do list together, put a get done list together. Talked about that. That get done list is actionable items that I need to take today that will move me 1 inch, 1 foot, 1 yard, 1 mile closer to my goal. But it's going to move me forward. Even if it's a small piece, inch by inch, it's a cinch. Yard by yard, it becomes very hard. If you want 10 times the results, then take 10 times the action. If you're used to doing this during a day or during a week, and you go and you keep doing that, you're going to get the same results, right? We keep doing the same things that we've been doing. We're going to get the same results that we've been getting. If you want better results, you need to take more action. I'm a pretty busy guy. I have 5 different businesses going on. I'm a busy guy. I love being busy. What I think in my businesses is what is the 1 or 2 things that I can do this week to move that forward or to make it better? What are the actionable items that I have to do? And I want to remind you about discipline of action. So, there's, what do they call it? You either have joy in your life, you have pain in your life. But when you think about the pain points in your life in the past, you either have pain of discipline or you have the pain of regret. What's the pain of discipline? The pain of discipline, the alarm goes off at 5:30 in the morning and you get up, have your cup of coffee, and you get your workouts in at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6 to 7 o'clock. And you go, I don't really feel like getting up at 5:30 every morning. I don't really feel like getting up at 5 every morning. That is the pain of discipline. Doing something that you don't want to do, but you do it anyway because you know it's the right thing, it's better for you, and it brings you closer to your goal of losing the weight, of getting in shape, hitting the record, running the race, whatever that is. Same thing in life. You've got to have the discipline and the habits of follow-up, the discipline of communication, the discipline of getting things done. Because if you don't do those, you're going to look back 6 months later and say, I didn't write the book. I didn't hit the goal. I didn't create the relationship. And you find yourself 6 months or a year later in the same situation you are today. And that's not what you want. That's not what people want for you. It's not what your best friends want for you. They want to see you hit your goals. They want to see you hit your aspirations. They love you and they care about you and they want to see you be successful. They want to see you live a good quality of life. The way to do that is you've got to be disciplined and not feel the pain of regret, but experience a little bit of pain in discipline. The last thing I want to share with you is a short story that I call this, "It's Worth It If You Love It." This is a personal story about me and my daughter. And my daughter was 7 years old. And my wife and I had split up. And I had an opportunity to move to Tampa, Florida. And I was concerned about moving to Tampa, Florida, primarily because of the relationship with my daughter. She was 7 years old. And I ended up talking to the CEO of that company. And what they had allowed me to do was, and I told him about the situation with my daughter, and that I was concerned about taking a position. We were living in North Jersey at the time, but taking a position in Tampa, Florida, and not being able to see my daughter. And I had every other weekends and Wednesday nights. If you're separated or divorced, you know how that works. But that was the situation. And so my CEO said, "Listen, we're going to give you the opportunity to leave a little bit early on a Friday and come back a little bit later on a Monday morning every other weekend." And I'm not saying this is right or wrong. I'm telling you a personal story about me and what happened with me. I took the job to Tampa, Florida, and I promised my daughter that I would be involved in her life and that I would be there and I would support her and I'd stay in touch and communicate. And every other weekend, her and I would be together without exception. And the story is, I go to Florida 2 weeks before 9/11. I'm driving back I go to visit my daughter the first week I get to Florida. First weekend I go to visit my daughter. I'm driving back to Newark Airport, flying back to Florida. I look at the World Trade Center in New York City and I say, "I sure hope I made the right decision." And of course, that following Tuesday was 9/11, and we all know the events that took place that day. But the bigger question I think I was really asking myself, did I make the right decision for my family? Did I make the right decision for my daughter? And so every other weekend for 7 years, from 7 years old until she was 14 years old, for the most part, I flew up, left on a Friday afternoon, flew up to Newark Airport, rented a car, picked up my daughter, drove to my parents' house in Pennsylvania, spent the weekend there, turned around and did it all backwards on Sunday night or Monday morning. 7 years in a row. And if you're a single person out there, or you're a divorcee or a single mom or a single dad, you'll relate to what I'm saying. One of the things you ask yourself in life is, when you split up or you're single, is, where are my commitments? Where are my priorities? If you want to get back into the dating world, who's going to want to date you if every other weekend you're gone? Who's going to want to be with you if you have a child or two kids, right? We ask ourselves those questions early on. But what I want to share with you is, today I have an incredible, great relationship with my daughter, as good as I think it can be right now. And I believe that was because I spent and invested the time early on in her life of making sure that we were connected, that we did things together, and we spent time together. And this is what I would tell you. It's worth it if you love it enough. If you really love it, I promise you the discipline of doing those things will be worth it. I love my daughter. She's the woman of my life. Stay disciplined. I hope this was helpful today. I appreciate your time. Have a wonderful day. My name's Terry. I'm your friend. Let's get it.